Ronan Whitaker sat in his office, staring at the latest customer reviews for his juice bar chain. Most were positive, but a few caught his attention: complaints about rude employees, dismissive service, and an overall unwelcoming atmosphere at one particular location. He frowned. His father had built this company from the ground up, pouring his life into it before passing it down to Ronan. Letting it decline under his watch wasn't an option. He had visited this location before, but only as the owner. The employees knew when he was coming, and everything always seemed fine, too fine. He needed to see the unfiltered reality. 2 days later, Ronan walked into the juice bar disguised as an average customer. His usual sharp suit was replaced with a hoodie, jeans, and a baseball cap. He had also grown out some stubble and wore glasses he didn't need. This store was one of 6 in the chain, and he had never personally met most of the employees here. It wasn't a corporate office where his face was plastered everywhere, just another juice shop in a busy city. The line was short, just one customer in front of him, a woman in her mid-30s, slightly overweight, dressed in workout clothes. She shifted uncomfortably as she looked at the menu. "I'll take the green detox smoothie," she said, offering a small smile. One of the employees, a young man with a name tag reading Derek, took her order. His expression was neutral, but as soon as she stepped away to wait, he turned to his coworker, a blonde girl named Haley, and muttered just loud enough for Ronan to hear. "Yeah, like that's gonna help," Haley snorted. "I was thinking the same thing, maybe throw in a salad while you're at it." Ronan felt his stomach drop. The woman, oblivious, stood by the pickup counter scrolling on her phone. The 2 employees continued their conversation, making no effort to lower their voices. "I don't get it," Derek said. "You stuff yourself with junk for years and then think one smoothie is gonna fix it," Haley smirked. "Right. Like, girl, we sell wheatgrass shots, not miracles." Ronan clenched his jaw. His father had always preached that their business was about health and positivity, about making people feel good, not tearing them down. And here were his own employees, mocking a customer behind her back, right in front of him. The woman received her smoothie and left, completely unaware of what had just happened. Ronan, however, had heard enough. He stepped forward, keeping his voice level. "I'll take the same thing she ordered," he said. Derek barely looked at him as he punched in the order. "Green detox smoothie, that'll be $7.50. Ronan pulled out his wallet, but his mind was racing. He had expected to find some issues, maybe laziness, maybe bad attitudes, but outright cruelty? That was something else. He watched as Haley made his smoothie, still chuckling about the previous customer. When she handed it over, she didn't even look at him. "Here," she said flatly. Ronan took the cup and stepped aside, pretending to take a sip. He needed to see more before he acted. A few minutes later, a new customer entered, a teenage girl, probably 16, looking nervous as she approached the counter. Do you guys have anything with peanut butter?" she asked. Derek sighed like she had just asked him to solve a math equation. "It's on the menu," he said, pointing. The girl hesitated. "Oh, right, I'll take the banana power shake." Derek punched it in without another word. When she fumbled with her cash, Haley rolled her eyes. Ronan was done watching. He turned back to the counter and cleared his throat. "Actually," he said, setting his smoothie down, "I think I've lost my appetite." Derek barely looked up. "Cool, not my problem." Ronan exhaled slowly. "No, but I think it's about to be." He reached up and pulled off his cap and glasses. The second his face was fully visible, Haley's smile vanished. Derek's posture stiffened. "Wait, what?" Haley whispered. Ronan set both hands on the counter, his voice calm but firm. "I own this place." The color drained from Derek's face. That's Ronan Whitaker," he said. "Owner of this juice bar, and I just watched you both mock a paying customer, humiliate a teen, and treat this job like it's beneath you." Haley swallowed hard. "We were just joking." "No," Ronan snapped, "you weren't. And even if you were, it doesn't matter. This company was built on respect, on helping people. You just made 2 customers feel small for no reason." Derek opened his mouth, then shut it, realizing there was nothing he could say. Ronan glanced around. A few other employees were watching from the back, frozen. A young man in a red apron, a barista, maybe looked almost relieved. Ronan turned back to Derek and Haley. "Both of you in the back, now." They hesitated. "Now," Ronan's voice was sharp, leaving no room for argument. As they disappeared into the back room, Ronan took a deep breath. His heart was pounding, but this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Ronan stepped into the back room, shutting the door behind him. The air was thick with unease. Derek leaned against the stainless steel counter, arms folded tightly, while Haley stood near the supply shelves, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. Neither of them spoke. Ronan let the silence stretch for a few seconds. He wanted them to feel the weight of it. When he finally spoke, his voice was measured but firm. "Explain to me," he said, looking between them, "why I just watched two of my employees ridicule a paying customer and dismiss another like she was wasting your time." Haley exhaled sharply, crossing her arms. "Look, it wasn't that serious. We were just messing around. It's not like she heard us." Ronan's eyes didn't leave hers. "So, because she didn't hear you, it doesn't count." Derek shifted against the counter. "It was a joke, man. People joke all the time." Ronan's gaze hardened. "You think that's the kind of culture I'm running here? A place where employees laugh at customers behind their backs?" Neither of them answered. "You both just made someone feel like they were a joke for trying to make a healthy choice. That woman walked in here expecting a decent experience. Instead, whether she knew it or not, she was mocked the second she walked away. That's not a joke. That's cruelty." Derek scrubbed a hand over his face. "All right, we get it. We shouldn't have said anything." Ronan took a step closer. "You don't get it. If you did, I wouldn't be standing here having this conversation." Haley's expression flickered with irritation. "So what? Are we fired?" Ronan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he leaned against the metal prep table, folding his arms. "Tell me something. Why do you work here?" Haley blinked at him. "What? You heard me. Why are you here?" She frowned slightly. "To make money." "And you, Derek?" Derek hesitated. "Same reason. It's just a job." Ronan let out a slow breath, nodding to himself. "That's the problem. To you, this is just a paycheck. But to our customers, this place is part of their routine, part of their day, and in some cases, part of their effort to be better. You don't have to love this job, but you do have to respect the people who keep it running. And right now, you're telling me you don't." Derek looked down, his jaw tight. Haley stared at the floor. Neither of them seemed to have anything to say. Ronan straightened. "You both can go home for the day. I'm going to decide whether you come back tomorrow." Haley's head snapped up. "Seriously?" "Dead serious." Derek looked like he wanted to argue, but the weight in Ronan's voice killed whatever protest he had. Without another word, he grabbed his things and left the back room. Haley lingered a second longer, as if debating whether to say something else, then followed. Ronan stayed behind, pressing his hands against the prep table, gripping the edge. His pulse was still running high. He hadn't expected it to be that bad. The door creaked open, and Ronan turned to see another employee standing there, the young man in the red apron he'd noticed earlier. He looked hesitant, but there was something else in his eyes. "Hey," the employee said carefully, I wanted to say something." Ronan nodded for him to continue. "My name's Lewis," he said. "I've been working here for about 6 months. I saw what happened out there." Ronan gestured for him to step inside. "Go on." Lewis rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but Derek and Haley, they've been like that since I started. They don't just talk about customers, they talk about us too. Anyone who doesn't fit whatever standard they've got in their heads, they make jokes about. If you're too slow on shift, they rip into you behind your back. If you take this job seriously, they call you a try-hard. It's been like this for a while." Ronan's stomach tightened. "Why didn't anyone say anything?" Lewis gave a humorless chuckle. "Because the last guy who called them out suddenly found his hours cut. Our manager, Josh. He looks the other way. He acts like it's not his problem, so people stop complaining." Ronan's jaw clenched. "Josh knows about this." Lewis nodded. "He pretends not to, but yeah, he knows." Ronan exhaled slowly. He had come here looking for answers, and now he had more than he expected. It wasn't just Derek and Haley, it was a culture issue, and it had been allowed to fester. "Thank you for telling me," Ronan said. "I mean that. I need to know what's really going on if I'm going to fix it," Lewis nodded. I like this job. I don't want it to suck because a couple of people ruin it for everyone else." Ronan clapped a hand on his shoulder. "It won't." Lewis gave a small, relieved nod before stepping out, leaving Ronan alone again. Ronan ran a hand down his face. He had a lot to think about. And more than that, he had a lot to fix. Ronan stepped out of the back room, his mind already working through the next steps. Derek and Haley were gone for now, but there were deeper problems here. If what Lewis had said was true, then this wasn't just about a few bad employees, it was about a manager who let it slide. That was unacceptable. He glanced around the store. Customers came and went, oblivious to what had just happened. The remaining employees worked quietly, a few sneaking, nervous glances his way. He didn't blame them. It wasn't every day the owner of the company walked in undercover and started sending people home. He spotted Lewis behind the counter, preparing an order with careful precision. Nearby, another employee, a woman in her late 20s with dark hair pulled into a tight bun, worked the register. She hadn't spoken much during the earlier confrontation, but she moved with the efficiency of someone who had been here a while. Ronan approached the counter. The woman noticed him and tensed slightly. "You're the owner," she said. It wasn't a question. He nodded. "That obvious?" she exhaled through her nose. "After what just happened?" "Yeah, what's your name?" "Melanie," she straightened. "Been here a little over a year." "You're a shift lead." "Technically." Ronan caught the hesitation. "Technically?" Melanie glanced around, checking to see if anyone was within earshot. "Means I do the work, but I don't have much authority. Josh makes the schedule, decides who gets hours, who doesn't. If I push too hard on anything, he reminds me real quick that I don't have hiring or firing power." Ronan folded his arms. "You've seen what's been going on here then," she nodded. "Derek and Haley, yeah, they've been a problem, not just with customers, staff too. People complain, but nothing changes. Because of Josh. Because of Josh." Ronan let that sink in. He had given managers a lot of autonomy, trusting them to uphold the company's values. Clearly, that trust had been misplaced here. Melanie hesitated before speaking again. "I don't want to overstep, but if you're serious about fixing this, it's not just them. There's a reason they thought they could act like that in the first place." Ronan's jaw tightened. "Where is he now?" "His shift starts in 20 minutes. "Perfect." Ronan checked the time. He wasn't going anywhere. Josh arrived exactly on schedule, strolling through the front doors with the relaxed confidence of someone who had never once worried about being held accountable. He was in his early 30s, with neatly styled hair and a casual air that might have seemed approachable if Ronan didn't already know better. Ronan waited until Josh was behind the counter, clocking in, before stepping forward. "Josh," Josh looked up, his expression shifting from mild recognition to confusion, then alarm. "Mr. Whitaker," he glanced around as if expecting cameras. I didn't know you were visiting today." "I didn't announce it," Ronan said flatly. "We need to talk." Josh forced a chuckle. "Of course, what's going on?" Ronan didn't bother easing into it. "Derek and Haley are gone for the day. I sent them home." Josh blinked. "What, why?" "I caught them mocking a customer right in front of me, then I found out it wasn't the first time. I also learned that complaints about their behavior and others have been ignored. By you." Josh's mouth opened, then closed. He glanced at Melanie, who was standing nearby, listening. "That's not, I mean, things get exaggerated. Employees have disagreements, customers misunderstand things." "Stop," Ronan interrupted. He wasn't interested in excuses. "I've been here for hours. I saw it with my own eyes. No misunderstandings." Josh shifted his weight. "Okay, yeah, maybe Derek and Haley have attitudes. But they're fast, they know the menu, and they get things done. You want every worker to be perfect. That's not realistic. I want employees who don't drive away business by insulting customers." Josh ran a hand through his hair. "Look, I handle things my way. Sometimes that means letting little things slide so the store runs smoothly. Ronan's stare was unwavering. Letting harassment slide isn't management, it's negligence, Josh bristled. So what, you're blaming me for their behavior? I'm blaming you for allowing it to continue. For ignoring complaints, for making employees feel like speaking up doesn't matter. Josh's face hardened. I've been running this place for 3 years. The numbers are fine, we hit our targets. You don't fix what isn't broken. Ronan's temper flared, but he kept his voice steady. If you think this isn't broken, then you're part of the problem, Josh scoffed. You think you can just walk in here and change everything in a day? That's exactly what I'm going to do. Ronan took a step closer. You're done here, Josh stiffened. You're firing me, Ronan nodded. Effective immediately. Josh's face turned red. For what? Because a couple of employees hurt someone's feelings. Ronan didn't waver. Because you failed as a leader, and I don't keep failures in charge of my stores. Josh let out a bitter laugh. Unbelievable. You can collect your things and leave, Ronan said. Your final paycheck will be processed this week. Josh shook his head, muttering under his breath, but he didn't argue further. He turned, grabbed his bag from the back, and left without another word. The moment he was gone, tension in the store seemed to deflate. Employees exchanged glances, murmuring quietly. Ronan turned to Melanie. Who's the most capable person here to step up? She blinked in surprise. You mean? You've been doing the work of a manager without the title, Ronan said. You willing to take the role officially? Melanie hesitated for only a second, then she nodded. Yes. Good, Ronan said. We're going to rebuild this place from the ground up. Starting now, she straightened. What do you need me to do? Ronan glanced around. First, we talk to the team, everyone. I want to hear what's really been happening here. Then we make sure this store becomes what it was meant to be. Melanie nodded, determination settling into her posture. For the first time that day, Ronan felt like things were finally moving in the right direction. Ronan stood at the center of the store, the entire staff gathered around him. The usual hum of blenders and chatter had faded into silence. Employees shifted on their feet, exchanging uncertain glances. Some looked wary, others relieved. A few, like Louis and Melanie, stood with their arms crossed, waiting to see what came next. He took a breath before speaking. This store has been running under the wrong leadership for too long, he said. That ends today. The weight of his words settled over the group. Nobody interrupted. I want to be clear about something, he continued, his gaze sweeping over them. This isn't just about Derek or Haley. This is about the culture that was allowed to take root here. A place where employees are afraid to speak up, where customers get treated like an inconvenience, where people think they can get away with mocking others because nobody's holding them accountable. A few workers lowered their heads. Others nodded slightly. I should have caught this sooner, and that's on me, he admitted. But now that I know what's been happening, it's my job to fix it, and that starts with making sure every single person here understands what this company stands for. Melanie stepped forward. So what happens next? Ronan glanced at her. First, I want to hear from all of you. I've already learned a lot today, but I know there's more I haven't seen. If you've dealt with issues, whether it's how you've been treated, how customers have been treated, or how things have been run, I want to hear it. No consequences for speaking up. At first, nobody spoke. Then Louis cleared his throat. Josh made it impossible to challenge anything, he said, his voice steady. If you pushed back, your hours got cut, and if you weren't part of his circle, you got the worst shifts. A woman near the register nodded. It was the same with Derek and Haley. If they didn't like you, they made sure you felt it. They'd freeze people out, make fun of them. If you didn't laugh along, you became the next target. Another employee hesitated before adding, they'd gossip about customers all the time, not just today, this was normal for them. If someone looked nervous ordering, they'd roll their eyes the second they turned around. If someone was older or didn't know what to pick, they'd sigh like it was a chore to help them. Ronan's jaw tightened, but he kept his expression neutral. And nobody thought to report this before. They did, Melanie said, but Josh made sure nothing came of it. A heavy silence settled over the group. Ronan exhaled. That stops now. Melanie is stepping in as manager, effective immediately. She'll be responsible for making sure this store runs the way it should with respect for employees and customers. And if anyone thinks they can keep up the same behavior that's been happening here, they won't last long. Nobody argued. He turned to Melanie. We're going to rework how this place operates. That means clear expectations, real accountability, and making sure people actually enjoy working here again. She nodded. I'll need to rebuild trust first. Some people are still going to be skeptical. That's why I'm not just walking away after today, Ronan said. I'm going to be checking in regularly. No more surprise visits. I want transparency. If something's wrong, I want to know before it spirals. A few employees exchanged looks. You're really serious about this, Lewis said. I don't say things I don't mean, Ronan replied. The group seemed to absorb that. The tension that had been lingering since the confrontation earlier started to shift, not entirely gone, but different. Lighter. One of the newer hires, a younger woman near the back, hesitated before speaking. What about Derek and Haley? They won't be coming back, Ronan said. This isn't a warning situation. They made it clear through their actions that they don't belong here. Nobody protested. If anything, there was an unspoken sense of relief. Melanie straightened. So we start fresh. Exactly. Ronan glanced at the team. If you're here because you want to work in a place that respects people, that values what we do, then I want you here. If you don't, if any part of you thinks what's been happening was fine, this isn't the job for you. Nobody moved. Nobody left. He nodded. Then let's get to work. As the team slowly dispersed, there was a different energy in the air. Not excitement, not yet, but something close. The weight that had been pressing down on this place was starting to lift. Melanie stepped beside him. This is going to take time. I know, Ronan said. But for the first time in a long time, I think this store actually has a chance. She smiled not out of politeness, but because she believed it too. And for the first time that day, so did he. Ronan remained at the store for the rest of the day, watching how things played out now that the toxic energy had started to lift. The difference was subtle at first, but as the hours passed, something shifted. Employees who had been moving stiffly, hesitant to engage, began to relax just a little. Conversations weren't weighed down by tension. Even customers seemed to pick up on the change, lingering a bit longer instead of rushing out the door. He stayed in the background, letting Melanie take the lead. She had a quiet authority about her, the kind that didn't need to be forced. Employees listened to her, not out of fear, but because they respected her. It was a sharp contrast to the way Josh had ruled the place through intimidation and favoritism. As the evening rush settled, Ronan stepped aside with Melanie near the storage area. I want to make sure you have the support you need, he said. You're stepping into a mess and I don't expect you to clean it up alone. She exhaled, glancing toward the counter where Lewis was helping a customer. I appreciate that. Honestly, I think the team just needs to see that things are actually changing. They've heard promises before, but nothing ever came of them. That's going to be different this time. I believe you, she said, but they'll need proof, he nodded. Then let's give them some. What do you need most right now? She thought for a moment. More hands. We're down 2 people, and even with Derek and Haley gone, their absence puts extra strain on the team. I'll fast-track hiring, Ronan said, but I want you involved in picking the right people. No more hiring just to fill shifts. We need people who actually want to be here. That'll help, she said, and we need proper training. A lot of these employees were just thrown behind the counter with minimal guidance. That's part of why things spiraled. People were left to figure things out on their own, and the wrong ones took control. Ronan frowned. That's not how it was supposed to be. Training should have been standardized. She gave him a knowing look. It wasn't. At least not here. His jaw tightened, but he pushed aside frustration. The past couldn't be changed. He could only fix what was in front of him. All right, he said. We're restructuring the training process. I'll have corporate send a trainer here, but I also want you involved. You know what's actually happening on the floor, not just what looks good on paper. Melanie's shoulders squared. I can do that. Good, Ronan said. What about morale? What's going to keep people engaged beyond just the promise that things are improving? She glanced toward the team again. Recognition helps. People worked hard under Josh, but the only ones who ever got acknowledged were the ones who played by his rules. If someone did extra work, covered shifts, or made customers feel welcome, it went unnoticed. That needs to change. Ronan considered that. We can set up an incentive system, not just for sales but for service, a way to highlight employees who go above and beyond. That would go a long way, she agreed. He nodded. Then we do it. Before they could continue, Lewis approached, glancing between them. Sorry to interrupt, but I thought you should know there's a customer asking for a manager. She looks upset. Melanie's expression sharpened. Did something happen? Lewis hesitated. I think she was here earlier. Ronan's stomach turned. The woman Derek and Haley mocked. Lewis gave a small nod. Without hesitation, Ronan stepped forward. I'll handle it. As he moved toward the front of the store, he spotted her immediately. She stood near the counter, holding an empty smoothie cup, her expression uncertain but determined. Ronan approached, keeping his demeanor open. I understand you wanted to speak with a manager. I'm Ronan Whitaker. Her eyes flickered with recognition. You're the owner, he confirmed, and I'm listening. She hesitated, then took a breath. I was here earlier. I ordered a smoothie, and I thought maybe I was just being paranoid, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the employees were laughing at me. I didn't hear what they said, but I saw the way they looked at each other. Ronan's chest tightened, but he kept his voice steady. You weren't imagining it. Her eyes widened slightly, so it was real. It was, he admitted, and I want to personally apologize for that. The employees who acted that way are no longer with us. She blinked, clearly surprised. Just like that. This company was built on respect, Ronan said. What they did went against everything we stand for. There's no place for that here. She studied him, then exhaled, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. I appreciate that. I wasn't sure if coming back was the right move, but I just wanted to know if anyone would even care. We do, Ronan said, and I hope you'll give us another chance to prove it. She nodded slowly. I think I will. As she turned to leave, Ronan caught Melanie watching nearby. That, she said, is the kind of thing people need to see. He nodded. Then let's make sure it's not just a moment. Let's make it the new standard. For the first time in a long time, he felt confident that this store and the people in it were on the right track.